Good morning, everyone. Nasi topic sina BEGC 105 American Literature. Last class I Unit 1 wiki American Literature ki or American Drama ki have introduction nama aina previous class last class aina discuss torme. Nasi sina block 1 Arthur Miller ki All My Sons. Aduni ko pinan using nasi aduga Unit 2 All My Sons a detailed study among the topic. Have the last class na ikuina introductory chapter have the introductory topic kita in the American drama have said that the growth of the American drama throughout the settlement era the have wiki European settlers in America the laga when settled the wiki American drama as a combined developed or have the magi ages have already important playwrights have do you mark Arthur Miller ju important in one of the most important have be American dramatism in for example Eugene O'Neill boy or the Tennessee Williams boy Arthur Miller boy mami kitang palab the which is important of them which yaure have tare ko ang ngasigi topic sina Arthur Miller gi yamna iconic boy have tare yamna maru boy ko magi play All My Sons magi play amale madugi detail study ko apin ngasi ne do se koina plot yengani ko the Arthur Miller gi All My Sons se SDMO in the Kamani MBI ko the Quina Magi plot ki progression had important to Kamala or the characters discussed to be important characters Maduni go in to so Nasigi lecture gi objective se wiki this unit explains the structure and plot of the play All My Sons. All My Sons hari pa play to gi structure ga plot ka have the combined same the no magi drama se ko sigi Arthur Miller ki All My Sons hari drama se structures kamai have the settings se kap kari hoy ko already plot se kari or kani already characters se kana kana no have to be you ko atuga plot na koi wari du ni ko have the kari matangi wari no kari matangi drama no ko mai kari with kari ningi no kari haningi no me am to discuss ni ko Arthur Miller's perspective about tragedy have se ko yes koi Arthur Miller ju Aristotelian magi principles follow to have here sigi place the ko ado when the time comes come to your kan dai to explain to sige ado Arthur Miller na magi tragedy gi magi perspective agi mai meeting have ta ko tragedy mi yang makan tragedy mi ipakan da mana kamaina portrait to have the union ko last the play All My Sons as a tragedy mo ina kamaina study to be ko All My Sons hari ba please misini ko sigi gi lecture gi objective se yamna lubnate structure and plot hana pi yengani yahan hamda ko ani subada Arthur Miller magi perspective ko magi meeting ko magi approach man command approach to weak tragedies hapama aduga last All My Sons hari pa please tragedy mo ina kamaina pina define to be kamaina pina tragedy mo in game bia ko so masini masigi lecture objectives horosiko introduction ko opened at Coronet Theatre in January 1947 and ran for 328 performances. यहाँ नाम बताओ introduction तो अपने कम भी ऐसे All My Sons hari pa plays ko Corona Theatre da January 1947 da open to giveni hai badi perform to giveni han hai bata ko aduga performance 328 performances yam yami ko 328 performances hai yam successful hoy hai ya ko sina hai badi ko hai badi almost a year hai tare ko adumba madum ke hai tare perform to giyo in tare ko adu yuwa Miller read account of Truman Committee investigation into allegedly faulty airplane parts manufactured in Ohio. Masida kugi Truman hari se Harry S. Truman ko kugi America gi former president hari ko mana president oijungi da mana committee ma mana single ga habetar ko mana senator ke no ko exactly correct mana investigation ma mana lead to ko aga kari no pakanda plane je kugi US Air Force habetar ko US Air Force US Air Force na lagi do hai ko plane sing je mana thigalaga around in historical evidence saying but 400 more than 400 planes habetar ko faulty parts faulty hai ga bera to problem lak to habetar ko ado there badagi mana ga Truman Committee na or Truman Commission have je ko mana ga yahan ki taba lebe yahan ki taba habadi from the plane se wigi pilots in the pilot in the land the guys in the bera to plane or it was or it would be very dangerous habitat to the Truman Committee ki matang da Arthur Miller na paru san the si Truman Committee ki investigation ko or the man inspired to given habitat hai madu ki committee ki investigation duna mana All My Sons hari pa plays e given ever he was inspired by that finding habitat ko investigation habitat Miller decided to write play so that even the actual criminal, on reading it, would have to say that it was true and sensible and as real as his life. Another reason was that Miller all my sons the actual criminal, those who are responsible have a Truman Committee, company to have a airplane parts same company to go mana responsibility lo honing ba ta in da ko ana criminal sing na mo na para ka o apin to bi phatte ko apin to bi to lali ko have to mana realization ma la ni criminal to ko ana Miller na sida please da mana du gi problem to ko we faulty aircraft parts ko ma kai ma yo laga we gi plane do we gi mo gi US government have that naturally US Air Force has got yun laga mo na pai ba ka na pera to ko gi am na CB out ni ko spoiler bu dikar yaw ko aduna Arthur Miller na madu khangani na mana sigi Truman Committee gi investigation to paraga madudagi inspired toroga mana masigi play All My Sins gi ne asim khazan biroga extremely popular among the audiences, earned great reputation for the author ona yamna popular wagi yes if then adum oire ko 328 performance 7 ko yamna popular bi maram je yam yame factors me am like obviously Arthur Miller na iba ko mana yamna powerful over play ma irpa already character yamna yamna natte sina harba ko alna character yamna dina already setting du yamna hunde ona audience in the follow to live ba habita ma ki wari se ko powerfully acted way yam fazna acting do ko ki actors in yam fazna so act to be adi matta play se yamna sangba plays natte ko thonna harba ayin sai haisegiba Aristotelian kahta magi principles have that madu fazna follow to madu little by little we'll discuss that aduna simyam dina maram oiraka wiki Arthur Miller gi All My Sins yamna popular oiba yamna iconic oiba haidare ko American history da American drama da yamna choba plays mamana kallaga lei intare ko so it is still very important yamna important oiri aduga yamna jo perform to have tare ko structure and plot of All My Sons yani is called All My Sons is a well-constructed and realistic play. It is conventional realism. Realism hierarchy, real life sibu yari makai to the utmost level habitat. Real life sibu portrait without melodramatic with the emotions. The base to the real life energies in the real life thing about problems or real life thing about challenges for Simian to play to the drama habitat. When the Fazana Utokuto. Sendo sendin to the madu bo in realistic play ko ona it is conventional realism yam yawi sida akoi the situation amada mioi ba mana kamaina react to the situation am mioi bomna kamaina approach to gani have to yam realistic ko hello Arthur Miller kanda si character singja moina respond to moina information on kanda moina respond to mo moina khang ko matam moina respond to mo to simiam je loina ma thazaba yaba yamna believable over characters me am ko maduna bu All My Sons say yamna well constructed way as well as yamna realistic over play and starts in the middle of things and spends the play uncovering facts of the past. Yes, this is yamna chumiko. What is a koi yes character kara budai na spoil torni ko Larry kuma character yauri ko ki main character habitat natraga ki protagonist habitat major character singi main san paje at that point ko akoi play ho ganda du ma je sire hena le me ko atmanga torgaman sire man kaino ka have to tam khan to ne little by little ko act the scenes in some progress of play ko ek hom no sabni sigi play ko aduna simyam je ko he ho da middle of things have the way we are introduced to many characters Chris or the Diver can yaw ne ko mo myam je alum introduce story ko he ho da duga apina we are looking back for example Chris ki fiance ko pim sam la kani maga relationship le ko mai ma pajiga Chris ki mapaga tabak to minaramaga because of this kahta faulty hierarchy ko faulty aircraft parts में हम योग तकी तौर का माई मपादन जेल लेबा अदु मैम अखोई यामना कहतरे वारी जे मरता होरका कुइना पास की थोखिबा थोबो मैम जे अखोइदा रीडर दा नत्रगा अखोई ऑडियंस हायरगे ने को ड्रामा दा तमना सुन खंगला को अदमाइन ई हे वारी से दुना starts in middle of things and spends the play uncovering facts of the past हाइसे को past का काय तो थोखिबा हबे तो अखोई ऑडियंस अखोइदा तमना को एक तो सिन दो मतम ला को खंगले follows pattern in which there is appropriate link between previous actions and present consequences. On the previous actions, mamang the tokiba. in tareko we mamang the poker but to give action me anduna present the effect le season ko for example character ama hair ju ko di ko in wari to support to no parama bi ko parama gadi am pare part go gadi no wari se direct in export to binda ko ona sida character am yawi character se ma gi past action to maram moiraga mana magi kehta hai magi guilty hoy bagi feeling to sun hengala podagi madagi person do masagi maswai loju dunia ko abdi suicide commit to dunia ko adu do mana mai past actions singuna monda present ta monda consequences pungan ba have example amane ko some very basic example amane zum hai wani ko aduna mamang the talk about actions ko mamang the look about actions me aduna we gi present ta drama do ho we matang do present ne logic ko drama ho we matang do magi wari sing do mamang the talk wari sing do dam tamna sum sum ngala toini aduga present ta effect la present ta we gi consequences to swing handu ne Miller observes the three dramatic unities of time, place, and action mentioned by Aristotle in Poetics. Poetics have say one of the earliest literary critical theory in Aristotle Greek philosopher dramatic unities and drama unity of time. Unity of time drama dugi action sa pungkun mari habidin numit ama habitare ko natro pungkun mari harjai madugi manung solution ka tawni hai se Aristotle haram mari ko habidi what is it and sangdu kita ba habitare ko ona pungkun mari natraga one day solution ka hai aduga unity of place haraga na kaina kana mafam amadagi homi tawni habidi drama je for example masigi what is it to me ko sigze all my sons haiba drama je we main characters main character hierarchy we the guilty or main characters magi backyard ta how the loibo atum question ko habedi mafum kya home deba auna sida unity of place ju Aristotle ki unity of place so maintain to we have the dum chupani ko adu last unity of action hierarchy one principal plot one principal action the focus of the mase Aristotle kari do haramino have kanta mana epic kumbaga compare to kanta matam ki epic Homer gi the Iliad the Odyssey ko mawing pala hierarchy matuda we what is a Iliad poro Odyssey poro we what is yamna spread out to be oil ko character yam ko character am my journey on sakini character na my sai journey sakini what is yamna thaido ba hai bitare ko main storyline dagi thaido khibagi chanabi am ko epic de adu me am do Aristotle avoid to nina man hai se unity of action like the one overarching hai bitare ko plot am yaw da madu ne ko unity of action hai se madugi sigi dramatic unities ahum je unity of time, unity of place, and unity of action. Masi ohumang Miller na fazana observe to magi all my sons ko madune ko. Next slide please. Unity of time limits action to single day. Yes, I know 24 hours that a single day ko. Auna masi wari ju only 24 hours that a single day da. Unity of place limits it to one general location. Yes, one general location je kai no kanda we character Joe Keller hai ko. Magi backyard action je ayambana howi action je ayambana lushali gente ko atopom pum kya yaute atopom mai se ming wina pan ko habidi jail da lebe ke yawi ko masi place da na jail da lebe ko le ko apil khangan ko jail da de ko transport of de jail da ko chatte ko just Joe Keller hai pa je mana magi mayungi ke tare backyard resolution or drama resolution hai tare and unity of action limits it to single set of instances which are related. Yes, sida action je kari action hoy bakanda we Joe Keller na in the past ko among the mana kind of haitare ko mana maga magi business partner ga tawraga haitare mana the ayam bane responsible or ni ko faulty oiba habidi bera ga ba engine ko we airplane gi part yoluba aduna maram oraga 21 pilots or ni ko ai yaw kan is the yaw ni ko like 21 pilots American pilots have tare shiba on the maram oraga magi business partner jail sangiba Joe Keller na payam thiraga have tare ko mana bribe kumba kai kumba have tare adu admaina we ingit bi ko tawraga mana jail sakong taba adugi action do ko maduna ne ba som de impact so mathang thang lak tu je have the Joe Keller ki masal pa Chris ju impact ro kani audai di magi Chris ki fiance ko mana luhongyen kanjari bin bi effect ro kani magi wife is effect ro kani Joe Keller masama tu effect ro kani at the end ko when he unfortunately he is going to commit suicide mana suicide commit to ni ko mo mena capture ka aduna action me am je kari ti tholo ki no ha kanda Joe Keller na mana aircraft ki parts ko faulty or bera karo parts iman yo to ko Play does not cross the time limit of 24 hours. Unity of time observed. Yes, now play is all my sons. I play is action unity of time. Observe maintains unity of place with action taking place in Keller home in Detroit. Detroit, American cities, American state. Sida we action Jayamana Sidolution level. On the Mapumzika home on a unity of place to the maintain to it. Action happens in backyard of Keller house. Minus the high backyard and the action. Unity owes a great deal to the conduct of single character Joe Keller. Auna Masita Akwigi plays the all my sons plays the action Ambaze Joe Keller na mana pasta. Among the man talking actions into them, among the Magi family, the Magi of the effect of doing Joe Keller actions through the habitat action the Paramuraka on the Fegla. Do not see me. I'm saying, waiting some of the Katako. On the unity of action, the unity of place, time, and action. The Runima way is total unity. The Runima observe the all my sons of the copy written. Setting of all my sons designed to suit Keller's myopic worldview. Myopic worldview are the myopic are the nearsighted Yamna Tungi Kalota Habitatiko of not thinking beyond his family's interests. Oh no, Masida Joe Keller had Pazina or simply Keller Mana as a businessman Amoina, Magi profit Kitani Kalaga, Magi Kanaba, Magi Mungi Habitat Magi Sataluba, Magi business growth Kalaga, Mana actions Kara. With the actions cut over the key from the moon effects on the Latunia. We mana pasto give it present the Latunia Mantina my family on the man of my family calling it up. Topa Migi Macha Habitat my Masa Magi family Ganda boning it up, Moin Wina boning it up, Migi Macha she was indirectly responsible to them, but to when discussed. All my sons divided into 3 acts that roughly cover 18 hours. From Sunday morning to the early hours of Monday. Yes, the 18 hours only go. Sige, please, sige, timeline. Timeline. Hara kadi karam can talk about. Yes, the past the whole actions in the refer to the call. Adubo ayamba principal action habitat. Not a major actions into the not a major plot city. Ayamba 18 hours period. Sige, tangkak sida ko. Ayam actions into the patu ka Som the Joe Keller na mana talk about around tabak kumbaga yung past to give to. Adu the yaw ko sida pina ayamba focus on 18 hours the level. Entire action takes place in backyard of house of Joe Keller, a rich industrialist. Yes, rich industrialist. I am not a businessman industrialist. Amani magi matozi kayo kanda mana plane gi parts gumba provide to dunya ko wiki Air Force tare wiki US government mana yo dunya ko mana as a private businessman tare as a private industrialist ko adu yo laga magi profit ko magi growth but mana hin na ba no jabo adu magi grid na maram moraga Manhena Pesata Nimba, Magi future to set on Nimba, Adumia, the Maramoraga, Mana, Yoluidaba, Beratoba, we give Macha, we give machine, give parts in Yoludagi, pilot Kumatoi, Lake Yoidunico, have the Sigiduni, Alna Mana to get extension enough, Magi presenter, impact Latuneba, Maduneba, we see proceeding this. Keller home includes wife Kate in early 50s. And 32-year-old son Chris. Yes, sida magi Kate hari ramai visually atuga magi musanupa ama Chris ko musanupa ko say 32 surabam ko maju important character more to ko Kate is important no man early 50s sorry magi musanupa ani sui ko Chris habonga Larry habo maliko that we will discuss more ma Larry ze ayam mi atopa singna pilot ni ko maso lai hidre hara ka ju Kate na dito maje accept of ngam deba because man she's a very or na trauma musanupa lai hidre apsi kalam na accept of ngam deba on the margin denial the later we tragic element we will discuss that. Next slide. Miller skillfully worked on exposition of plot that gradually increases dramatic tension as we move ahead in the play. Yanasumi, Masida Miller na Arthur Miller na ko tamna magi plot se develop toro ko with the hana kangan da sing tamna with sum realize to halapa uncover to habitat ko. For example, Joe Keller ki magi pass or they get ki mana hana with the get na mana khali mondo oh gets na di maze kahtare magi sanu pase later haine accept ngam do kon ticket san ju khangam duine bo abadi maze denial da lebe ka khalam do ko adugum tamna we character sing ji moigi mental state have tare ko moi moina kai khali moi wakhalon kai ka ja kuida yam tamna in a slow burn ki da hire ko sara slow burn da kuida audience kuida nataga readers da kuida khangal pin ko awna masi ju Arthur Miller na yamna haina yamna skillfully have tare ko yam haina kuigi reader nataga audience da tamna sort pin ko Miller gives background information revealing certain facts about the past aduna mana tamna background information to appear certain facts past the talk about ko some have the gallery magi action sing or the magi business partner diver have me yarko niko atu action sing ko or the and kid the Chris Larry poimiagi past ko tam sum khangala tani ko audience mo niko apple tree planted to keep son Larry's memory alive who had been reported missing during the war masida hojiki Joe Keller gi magi backyard apple tree ma same ki pambi ma ko una thai kai no ba kan da Larry hari ba mu san pa ja Chris no san pa to pani ko san pa ni swi Larry je mayam nadi report ju hai ba tare ko lai gidre ko ma je ti ba khangdre ko dre ko lan cha pa kan da ha ba do ma gi mother ke nadi accept to ngam ki de ba na mana no matra no madi ai san pa Larry je ai gi na ta halakini ko ha bi ki wa khalon do lai na ki same pambi tha da ko to ko ma gi memories adum hinga la tham da ko na ba maduni do ko hai bi me se ki tragic mani fact amane have tare ko tragic tragedy ki my part amane have tare ko denial the level ko yana tragic way was he characters get how characters ko Larry's mother Kate ko say have does not believe Larry is dead and hopeful that one day he would come back safe. This plays major role in development of the plot. Yes, to me but the Larry ki mama na Larry is like gidre Larry is halaro have say man acceptable sungam de deba man yaning deba ko man acceptable ngam de aduna maram oraga maga mai san pa Krishna Larry ga hana thana saram bai ba tare ko and have character mi orpa ko adu bokta mana Larry halakini kolakini kana ka hai dunya ko awna Larry je like gidre Larry je ma je halaro have say mama je acceptable ngam de awna madugi denial duna tragic element amuso hele ba ki readers akoida da phone to nuai to ba ma phone have tare ko ya tragic oi ba yam na mama je nuai de to ko kind of the audience akoida evoke to pity have tare ko ma phone to to bring and visit Keller's Anne and Chris are in love and after writing letters to each other for 2 years Chris invited her in order to propose to her on Anne is now koigi Keller Joe Keller gi magi business partner Steve Diver gi san pi ne ba adu mo je khangna ba ha ko paw na ba khangna awna and hari bin pi sa Steve Diver gi san pi jiga Chris hari bin pam sa gi Joe Keller san pa jiga ba ni dusin ba ko adu ba ni ji tha da na mo paw ne ko adu ga Chris na finally mana end mana mai mo ko ga ma propose to ba ha ta ko lo hong se policy settle down to je ha gi mana ko ne ki do and hari bin pi sa Keller discourages him from marrying Anne as Anne is Larry's fiancée. Kat believes that Larry is alive and would turn up any day. Oh, na Keller na di may san pa Krista ma Anne je luhongin ko and the proposal no because Larry is halaki biya. Nataga Larry ga hana kanga zaram no pine. Inde ko brother ani se Chris ka Larry ga Larry na hana and kanga zaram bani Larry je halak to badagi and ga Chris kamu Maria Masingot Kibin Haitarico. Aduga get a zoo, Tazabom Lego, Esan Pa, Larry no matter no Halakini, having now Manazu, Kriska and engaged over natural woman having a proposal we have under the man support of them there. And the daughter of Steve Deaver, business partner of Joe Keller. Now, Steve Deaver had even passed Joe Keller Mobanina, business partner Orega, the key airplane parts in door. American government ta yon dunya ko American apigi Air Force type tare ko babani ge adu ki masang pini Steve Deaver hari bin palo bang sang pini be engine cylinder heads develop cracks Keller calls up Deaver asking him to weld cracks on cylinder heads and ship them off to the army auna moina semba cylinder heads moi mu khum hai tare ko heads khum hai ko crack chalak to hairline fracture ga hai ko yam pa na crack chu ko adubu sigi je yamna problematic oiba yamna dangerous oiba issue mo dunya ko ada Joe Keller na Steve Deaver da thousand bro adu suzalaga well to by the ko suzalaga dum pitoko habi mo yani hara ka sonda di Deaver na di pakhacha ko kamai to ni sigi je ko ne gon chaluraga American government da piuraga wala problem tolaga so nga nora di na problem mo tola kamai to ni ko ka Joe Keller na di pisado ta ning na magi kitang short sighted to ba myopic ko world view to ko my family pisado na odi are magi business to grow to odi are habi mo bakhalon to le na man suzalaga dum pi go yani ki store habi ta Deaver na to do ni ko maduna maram oraga moina perfect oidaba cylinder heads in the problematic oiba cylinder heads na maram oraga accident thokadoni ko aduga moigi pilot kun mathoigi thawai mangdu ne ko madune. Next slide is ko. Damaged cylinder heads pass by factory and ship out to the army, resulting in death of 21 pilots. So sina maram oraga Steve Diverna mana suzalaga maju palite ko ma kino na Joe Keller to having ma to na magi cylinder heads indo moina army the pire the gidi moina sinara kan di berator the gidi pilot kun mathoi sibagi maram moigi cylinder heads so berator de ko. Court case against Joe Keller and Steve Dever. During trial, Keller denied responsibility for damaged cylinder heads. On a court case, some thangale ko ekana kai bigi problem tolo kibono pilot kun mathoi sibi maram de kai no antiga kan di cylinder heads ki bera to de gi tholo kun hare madu hiram ni na responsible mi ka kanano ko hot kan da Joe Keller ga Steve Dever ga tare ko adubu Keller na di trial to kan di man paim thira ko I di kem khangong de ko de ai onda man responsible oi de ko de na ma di chin na ko na re ko aduni court acquitted him. Acquitted I already found him innocent. Maje my problem nature ko trial madi nantu over have tare ko adubu while Dever was sent to jail. Adubu Steve Dever to the my sangaliziram do wormbe ko ma paim later the maje jail tham reba aduna at the start of the play ko akwigi and Chris Nobla tanda Steve Dever hariba magi mapaje ko and mapaje jail da ojujuk leiba pane ko wari to akwigi drama do ko kan do aduna Joe Keller ga Steve Dever ga mabani se casing na bakanda kino ni ko akwigi court casing na bakanda mabani tin na ko mabani ki side ma oiba dare ko Steve Dever na guilty ore Joe Keller na like phadana hype ta na tro paim thira ga tare ko innocent oren hare aduna Joe Keller di ma mayum de hore jail sa hote ko Steve Dever di pali to dina ma di jail sa kre ko and gim ke mapane ko Steve Dever. Even though Keller was acquitted by a higher court, the people of his locality still believed that Keller had got himself acquitted through underhand means. Auna higher court gi ma je Joe Keller je innocent oire habagi kahatare judgment to habitare ko ni ko judgment phanaga ju mi sing na di ma gi locality ma ga koi bi de lei mi sing na dum khang ne ko Keller na mana jail sang hodri ja mana chala ama habitare na tra upai ama thiraga maybe underhanded higher ka di legal oida ko aine ya da maybe bribe moiro ko the atopa sapi thoga ko whatever ama toraga ma je jail sang hodu boram gani have se magi locality gi missing nati jingnai yo adu you wanted. Anne and her brother George no longer in touch with their father Steve Dever out of disgust and saying that he was involved in such a dreadful crime. Aduna Anne ga magi brother ko George Steve Dever gi masanu paga masanu pidu harage ko masanu paga George ore masanu pijin Anne ore ko mabani di magi mapa jail le biduga paus ba phone tre because moi mapa duna tori thabak to moi di moi mapa na lale ha dum khale ko avna yam ikai ba ne ko adugumba yamna kehtare asoi be thaba ma to da gi have ta ko apigi Steve Dever na adu yamna phatta ba thabam to da gi ni ko pilot kun ma thoi si to have gi to masanu pi ga sanu pa ga na mai khan bani na mapa ga to moina phonga bitre phonga tre ko no contact have ta. And of the opinion that Larry died as a consequence of her father supplying defective cylinder heads to the army. And my okan kanjai ko magi mapana Steve Dever na ko ayadaba bera topa cylinder heads kumbodo mana army de yonjulubudagi magi fiance Larry ju sigi bani habagi hazabado and on the lazy ni ko. Act 1 ends with the audience anticipating some hidden secrets would be revealed with the arrival of George in Act 2. Act 1 just malushan doni ko aduga Act 2 the George hariba Steve Dever yusanu paje Joe Keller mem da latuni awna akoi da audience akoi ko something is going to happen ke nomli thola to rehe na tra koi kari no have the country adubu yamna revelation have ta ko hana losulamba hana koi khangalam da ba ke nomli koi khangan dore have se Act 2 da koi khangan dore have se koi da reader na tra audience koi da phone bana me ko matuni. In Act 2, truth about Keller's role in crime revealed increasing dramatic tension. Auna Act 2 dane ko akoina Joe Keller na mana tokiba magi actions in the mana crime to da mana commit tokiba actions me ando akoida audience to reader ko khangan doine auna sida dramatic tension jo ko de hole ko. Arrival of Anne's brother George helps in further development of plot and causes conflict between Joe Keller and Chris. Auna masida Joe Keller na Joe Keller ka Chris ka gi marakta ko so Joe Keller ka Chris ki marta George hariba Steve Deaver gi masan paje man information no bakra phangaga mana Joe Keller gi mim da lakto ne ma mim da laga mana information sing je khangan badagi di Joe Keller ga mai masan pa Chris gi mar ta ju problem ma tholo tu ko mamani hana Chris na di mai ma pa je amna pa badi ma pa do yamna ideal loiba nu pa mani mai ma to to da ni ka khanjaram ba ja madi mar ta Joe Keller ga mai masan pa Chris gi mar ta problem jo ko ma tholo tu ne ko George na or pa information do khangna ka da madum ka ro ko. According to George, Steve Deaver informed by foreman in his factory that the cylinder heads produced had some manufacturing defect. George na hai ko mana information bi Steve Deaver mai mapa ni ko mai mapa na magi foreman haragadi manager gum hai bagi mo ko factory to get akhui moina cylinder heads moina produce to buje manufacturing defect habadi sabada problem kar lai haina Steve Deaver da foreman da khangan bane ko foreman na magi कहता है superior है बता रहे को हमारी superior officer Steve Deaver owner दो कोई कंपनी को माचा Steve Deaver ना माना पाव तो तम में को अखोई ना सारी बा cylinder head सिंजे manufacturing problem का लेकोन है बा. Instead of coming to the factory, Joe Keller asked him weld the cylinder heads and ship them to the army. अदुगा from the Steve Deaver ना माई business partner है बता रहे को Joe Keller ना माना अदु हाई रुपा कांदा Joe Keller ना किधर ता कोई factory इधर लाख कोई मुहूर्त को माना Steve Deaver दा नंगा फना बा Southern Gro, cylinder heads ko may dorga Southern Gro, adu adum army da pichok gro and hire to you. Adun takodi responsible or is a Joe Keller and responsible or in the coach Joe Keller have in the pagin henna, sige pilot kumatoshi and the man and responsible or have because man never Steve Deaver in the level story and problem there nangadum sowum token social cylinder heads of main door social aduga army the yonoko hire to Joe Keller and have Steve Deaver have that table. On top of the truth, Kimatungina Steve Deaver would Joe Keller and Hannah guilty with her. Do you want? Yes, like a classical. During trial, Keller denied responsibility for damaged cylinder heads. Court knew he was telling a lie, but in the appeal, they believed Keller's story. Oh no, trials are Tareko. My pilot Kumato do see the trial Musatare, trials of Nobakanda, Joe Keller, Manato, Nate, Matic, and Kande Kote, Habikido Mana. Sintier ka habitat ko ma sintier ka ma hai ko na ju ching ne ko jo kelan hai je mana nang myam je aran ba ko ma sinti bo ro ni na adubu keller gi wari do moina dum chumme hen law ko habitat Steve Deaver do ta na raga jo keller di jail sang hodre Steve Deaver hari mi padu di jail da mo namjin bigre ko adum ka ro ko. After listening to George, Chris confronts his father ona sida George na pa no do pora aga Chris tam ba gi di Chris na truth to mano karam no thazab do ngam ko ana mana mai pa da hang de ba chumbra kopra somda George na the tamiru paute tamiru information chumbra have to tangla ko. Keller says if he had led his business to collapse, he would not have been in a position to set up another business at the age of 61. Sida Keller na indirectly mana hoi chumme ko George na chummi aina matanduda when cylinder heads Joe have ni ko cylinder heads kun mathoi do sorry cylinder heads faulty over cylinder heads indo mana yolom dragati army da mana yodom dragati magi business to soram bi aduna maram waraga mana problem lay khangna sojalaga yon gi ne have to Keller na indirectly hire to you nte ko adu mana matabu ma sai 61 sure on the mana anoba business ki model ma natraga anoba industry ma lika have to itoro ona mana soi khangna problem lay khangna mana Steve Deaver da koigi sagi bera toba cylinder gi head sing to ko man yolan gi bene have to last Keller na masan pat hydro to ne adum kan birazi. Chris gets furious at this. He accuses Keller of killing his own countrymen. Masida taba kan Chris yamna pinglong sabole ko mali soni ko madi mai ma pa je yamna phaba yamna ideal loiba ko tamjan ngai ba magun yam chen ba pam ne khalu to ma ko na di khangel da sum do ko mai ma pa jina maram moraga mai ma pa du gi action na maram moraga pilot kun mathoi si gi bani have se Chris se tapna gyan lak ba hore madu no mana pa da sagi country gi ko sagi male ba ki mi sing bu tang hat ni no mana mai ma pa da blame tore. Chris says that he does not know how to punish Joe. He cries out, "What must I do, Jesus God? What must I do?" Oh na, so the Chris na kamaina mai ma pa ji bu kamaina punish to ji ke mai pa ki action sing have ta ko mana pa sa log action sing je mana kamaina we to ji ke to khang re yam di nuai je tre ko ma di twai do nuai tre thamoi do kai re have ta ko mana yam na pha ban pa ni yam na ka ta re tam ji nga ba yam ideal lo nu pa ni khalam mai ma pa je ko na di just businessman have tare ko pisane na maru oina khalamba businessman am oile ram ko magi mungi khalaga magi asagi khalaga magi wife magi family den khanba pa mo oile ram ko migi macha ko migi pilot gumba kai dum bagi moi punchi gi damok khanbi daba pa mo oile. Play reaches climax in Act 3 with dramatic tension building up again. Oh no, Act 3 is dramatic tension am laki dori ko happy realization ke ka khangna ko myam ko madu laki ne. Kat wants Anne to leave next morning without Chris and firm on her belief that her son Larry is still alive. Kat na di Anne the Chris na Anne the proposal was Kat na di pam te ko ona mana Anne sa laning ko aduga Chris yaudu bita Chris le hawra have tar aduga mana ju thazabadu leiri mai sa pa Larry sa halakini han thazabadu leiri. Anne takes out a letter from her pocket which he had brought as proof of Larry's death and shows it to Kate. On Anne do na di man proof to habidi Larry hari ba mai san pa Kate san pa lei gitre habigi proof to and the letter amada yaw proof to habita ko letter do pura aga mana magi heta Larry gi mama Kate ulle ko utadai reaction doing ko. After reading letter, Kate is not shocked for she has always known while constantly denying that Larry had died in the war. Oh na letter to pa kan di Kate na ju last di not padi powder ko adu maji denial the letter bo chan ko ma dum khang di khang oh ai chan pa to usko halak krishna di ma do shiramani ko ma je for whatever reason ko maram shiramani adu ma je no matter halakini have ki ma ki delusion have tare ko ma ki denial not delusion have tam sin ba ko adu dum lai na ma na mai sa pa si have man accept to ngam da ma khang di khang ba mai me san pa Larry je is as good as dead na tra si re have di ma khang di ngami khang khangi adu bo secret have the man accept of ngam da madune ba ya tragic oi ko. Chris, who had gone out, comes back after driving around. Chris informs his mother that he is leaving home alone for good. Ana Chris to madi mai ma pa du ga ma ga wari sana tu ma song na madi tong khung de ko ma je kai thu do sa khra ne a hala kan da mana mai mai de le roi ai cha ge ai thaba ma private ki thaba ma ama yaw bani ko drama ta ai ma thiu ge har ga ai chalani yum thalo chalani ma na inform to. Meanwhile, Keller appears on the scene to talk to Chris. Clear to him that both his wife and his son want him to go to jail. Auna Keller to tole ko ma ka mang dole ko duka siki sin yo kan da di jo Keller na khange ko oh ai gi san pa ga ai gi nupi ga na ai je jail da chani habidi to take accountability have tare ko for his crime mana ma je sing mai jail da le da mu pa ni da ko Steve Deaver da budi Steve Deaver ga nga ko kan da di jo Keller na hen da bu guilty oi ne ko ana mai san pa ga magi wife kana ma je jail chani nge have se jo Keller masana ju lastly habidi realize to zare. Defending himself, everyone tries to make money by all possible methods. Chris idolized his father, but later proved himself to be unworthy. Sida jo Keller man hai ko aina to gi action me am do ai family gi khalaga ai mung mung gi khalaga ai business gi khalaga to gi bani sida man hai chum men khanjari man ko ana mi khudima businessman khudima oro mi mo khudima oro moi lem sa tan na ba pai ma thira ko sa tan ko na ma tani adu ma dai jo mani habi mo do adu Chris na dia na thamu ji kaizare ma de mai ma pa ji amna phaban pa yang na magun le pa ne khalam bani adu bo na di pesa ne na maru oi na khalam ba pa mo oi le. Larry crashed his aeroplane when it became unbearable for him to live with this shame. At the time of his father's conviction, would have killed him. Auna Larry du mana matung da sisabane suicide oil le kentare ko mana magi plane do crash usalaga because my mapana maram oraga madi army dia one ko my mapana maram oraga magi army gi my comrade have tare ko magi fellow army keno officer me amdo kun ma thoi do si gi do Larry di mo mana khangmani na mo di amna penja da ba ko mana bu haije ko mana papa du gi papa du na court ka matam hai tare case na matam do mana me dale magati papa du mana bu halam baya in mana derina magi ti to iram. Chris tells father that he should know what is to be done. Keller asks Chris to get car ready and drive him to the police where he will surrender himself. Ona Chris na hai babana mai papa ne ko hai have thabak to dum to si sida pa do je nang jail chang to jail da lei ko habidi lalu re habidi na lalu thabam to ni na ko jail chang ko pa habis mau san have kan da Keller ma san ju ya jare to man kai do ready to thamo to ma police salasi to ma lanjare ma je la surrender to ba ga di mana ya jare magi action sing ko ma sana chumme kole ai hana aina maram moraga aina ni surrender heads ai ada sing yolo ko hai me am do mala hai do ne ko ma je ma police station no puro gen mines. Keller says in Larry's opinion other pilots were also like his son and so he has to pay the penalty. Also the Joe Keller na hai ko Larry's opinion, Larry, my son, by Wakanda Dico. Lady Driba, pilot me, good matoito, Aduzu, my son, Larry Gumbangatonia. On all my sons, I'm the Laponico, my son Pangatonio, on the my son Panta Si, Bunina, Mana Maramuraga, son of Pa, Yamama Happy Mondo, Yangamina, Maju, he deserves all the punishment he can get. Some have the god in the mind is. Keller goes inside the house and a sword is heard from inside the house. Chris enters the house and has no idea that his father has sought himself. So the Chris Suna Madi Gaido, ready looks in the go. So Keller di my name Sangaga. No Mena Kapsaraga, don't the suicide to Chris comes out inconsolable after seeing his father dead. Kat knows very well that her husband had committed suicide to pay the penalty for his crime. Chris to the my Mapado she to come to some Buganda the man Mapado she regular Madi Tiambe already inconsolable higher the other my be get the Kanze oh mana commit suicide commit over is mana la ludo, not to be the Matani and a cat and didn't accept the rape. Tells Chris not to feel guilty for his father's suicide, but to forget the past. See that kid, na my son, Chris Avanico, my apology, the chemical run, mana my tobon top, mana ma lalu, to give them a mana, gates and the logo to the paso toro, to a another consumer, Hodunova, another consumer, known the single number honor in the mana, I'm son of father advice period. Ends with Chris facing with horror his own complicity in his father's self-destruction. With Keller's death, the play repudiates antisocial behavior. Honestly, the Christian don't resolution between the mana Maju Mapasi factor Marina, see the Krishna, Mount of the Kanzara oh, I know we father the Suman hierarchy, I know we father the jails as equal hierarchy, we father na extreme step, hybrid suicide, the result and Makalo Lehudunia. Dr. Jim, Sue, Bird, Frank Luby, and Lydia contribute to unity of plot with dialogues enhancing place realism. On the Sigi, me have the side characters on the major characters in the Temoje, more neighbors from Habatarico. When me have the zoo, important about party, don't play the way, Yam Jawa partner in Truzuko. Other than Sigi play to give realism the Hingada level, Mogi opinion, when a shared of opinion, Mogi dialogue, Habatarico, me have the quick audience equida, the trigger leaders equida, realistic or level to Hingada level play to. Arthur Miller on drama as tragedy. In his essay, Tragedy and Common Man, Miller says that there were very few modern tragedies written because people thought that they were fit only for the very highly placed, the kings or the kingly, as Aristotle believed. Miller na my opinion na share to Arthur Miller na. Yes, but the moment that the Shakespeare matamda, Aristotle matamda, or Greek tragedy matamda, the Greek tragedians, Sophocles, the Aeschylus, Euripides, Moimiam to call the Shakespeare to William Shakespeare, Marlowe, Moimiam, the Matam tragedy, or Garagadi, main character or protagonist, have a type onto the young powerful about Togumba or nobility given the Pogitamina, Matamgi, Wiki rule, have a type on written rule, man, set or member. Adobo, Milana de High, Matamda, modern tragedies, Miam literature, missing a tragedy, Pakanda. Adugumba topics dang da adugumba people dang da focus to them high bikini Aristotle Aristotle Tamamba rules meam do madu follow to lay bikini modern tragedies meam literature na na Miller na high on the ma high modern tragedies kadi lay kitabuni labor kan da wiki ning thogi matang da ko nobility matang da industry is my is Challen's belief previously accepted about tragic plays that tragic consciousness existed even in the ordinary people manasida Miller na high ko tragic consciousness have a set, Ningto, the Marani, the so sang, nobility, we nobles, aristocrats, Madumiam, the Mungi Wakalun, Yavanate, common people the zoo, tragic consciousness have Yawi, relatable with Habitat, acceptable Tazabia, relatable about tragic consciousness have a set, common everyday people the Yawi have a set, Arthur Millerna, I remember, Arthur Miller opinion habitat. Tragic feeling evoke in us, evoke the poem with the poems. When we are in presence of character, ready to lay down his life, if need be, to secure one thing, his sense of personal dignity. Honestly, tragic feelings that we audience the reader the command pound Gabakanda, Mana Magi Masaji will sacrifice his own number. On the might Hawaii Tabung number, Gramatangano, and personal dignity to be maintained on the example, a quickie, all my sons, Haragana, a quickie, Joe Kellerna, Lokiba, Magi, extreme step to go. Mana Magi dignity, Dokitango, the words man maintained on the Bina, Maze, jail, some way more time, a man societal, but to do tragic action, the money of the lobby, but to never Arthur Miller opinion. On a tragedy, have to say, Ningtogumba. nobility gumba achokchang gumba dangi wari natte ko common people, common everyday people da ju tragic consciousness yawe habase Arthur Miller na thazarami duka aduna maram oiraka musigi on my son sida wiki protagonist have tare ko main characters in common people ohelis believed common man apt a subject for tragedy in highest sense as kings were auna Aristotle gi matamda or Greek matamda have tare ko Greek tragedy gi matamda Renaissance tragedy we some now we Shakespeare tragedy matamda ko Shakespeare ni ram tragedy matamda ningthau gumba ko we major or the gidi we nobility gumba dangi dangda focus toram bado maduna tabita common man ju common everyday person ju tragedy gi subject am oibada chane tragedy gi subject am oibada problem like day tragedy subject am oibada yamna app way chana ba haibata ko haibado Arthur Miller na all my senses uthome emphasize that main characters in the tragedy should be ordinary people in domestic surroundings to whom the audience will readily relate. On the man hiremi Arthur Miller opinion the tragedy is main characters tragedy main characters in ordinary people with the I nang ko the audience have an audience readers relate to domestic surrounding had the imungi ko family yum get surrounding the place over on the audience in the ying bakanda audience in the pa bakanda Mount the two the Sase, and on the zoo to Piego. Mount the Mana, Mount the Tinari Awase, and on the zoo in the vehicle have the wiki audience in the Pound Mangamato, Madu, Tragedy, Achopa, Rolamani, Achopa, Impagamaneva. Masiche, main characters in the common people again, because audience common people know to Ninahe. Audience understanding of tragic play becomes easy with ordinary people playing the main role. Oh, now audience in the Yembakanda, audience in the Pavakanda, or readers in the Pavakanda or drama, Yemkanda, Pavakanda, Nataga performance, Yemokanda. A queen tragic play, J. Amukena line up with the Gantan Bangamel, line up with Luxon Bangamel, common people in the main role or candidate. Ordinary people, Habidi, Ekoi Gumba, Amana, major character, or a Gumba Amana. Major role or kanda tragedy je amuke hena akoigi audience na odagi akoigi spectator na relate to banga matleba relate to bahar kadi akoi phon ba ko kodi akoi ju masi problem je thingna bi ko akoi ju masi issue je nomatra nomadi akoi sojana akoi maybe possible oi ko thingna ba ka ha ko phon tragedy the consequence of man's total compulsion to evaluate himself justly. The tragic flow is not exclusively in grand or elevated characters. Sida Arthur Miller na hai tragic flow hariba wiki Greek term the haragana noju khamani ko api odin wiki viewers injo hemersia hariba term je wiki tragic flow haibani mase wiki Shakespeare matamda or Greek tragedians sing matamda di masigi tragic flow asoi ba haibata ko maduna maram oiraka wiki ningthau the noble lineage kimi nobility mi ko major general whatever moi myam je tragic flow ma yaw ga aduna maram oiraka moi gi downfall do aduna maram oiraka thon bani have se tragic flow have se akoi noble people noble man noble woman ko kings and queens dang natte akoi gi common people jo yawe for example masigi Joe Keller ki tragic flow hai ga my greed ko my business to the man important oina khaluba instead of the life of the pilots the 21 pilots pilot kun matoi ki punchi budi magi business sakatna my business the game to obna sal tal obne important to have the magi tragic flow to them. All My Sons deals with the fate of Joe Keller. Tragedy as a tragedy. Though uneducated and a self-made man, Keller has committed an atrocious act during the Second World War. Masida Aquina, All My Sons, Hyper Plazy, and Mukana Joe Keller, Magi, Libel got fate, to the Ayam of Focus of the Nico. Maze uneducated Oiba, self-made Oiba, have the Masana, Masagi, position do, Yondo Ponazar, Hypertarico, Mina, Monta, Matin Punk, with Hypertaric, who's self-made. Mana Yamna Patava, Amna Suiba Exenamator, the Git, Second World War Matanta, Magi, tragedy, Magi tragic downfall to Latunia. Steve Deaver is informed by the foreman in his factory that the cylinder heads that were produced had hairline cracks in them. Steve Deaver, Hariba Magi business partner, the foreman to the informed to the Nico. Aquina produced the river cylinder heads in their hairline fracture. Have they pub, not to the people have Taraco. Great Yawi, message a problem where Canicola can inform Topocanda. Joe Keller Naco. Asking him to weld the cylinder heads, Keller assures Deaver that he would take full responsibility for the damaged cylinder heads. Sida Keller na Magi business partner Steve Deaver the mana adum sujalaga adum yon thukisi army adum yon kisi problem na akaju we problem ma kai gumba we issue gumba thola kaju mana responsibility to loge na mana steve diver hazahale entare ko adubu kona di mana sengraga hai tare mana jail sang ho de steve diver na jail sang ki to ne ko on ta di jo kela na ne behena responsible or is pilot kun mato ship da damaged cylinders had caused 21 planes to crash killing their pilots on a sigi 21 planes se we crash to duni aduga mo the plane to the tomba pilots in loi si duni ko on ta di jo kellers na indirectly sigi pilot kun matoi si bezida mana so bul lam lo tu ne man accident the plane revolves around this tragic incident sigi tragic incident kai no bakanda pilot kun matoi si bedo adu gi ayamba apina action me am de spread out of me ko this muthang ta sandar tu me action me am harmony of house disturbed 3 years later with M's arrival to the galleries. And that's he only matunda. See incident to say matunda and have the Steve Deaver. He must have been Chris Unabala proposal we have a record. The lack of the problem Zetan sum reveal to issues reality have that truth to them reveal to the truth to reveal to the giddy Joe Kellergy, Maggie, which is you Matoma to the turn upside down. George Habedy and the brother Steve DeBergina Masalupa reveals the truth that Keller was the main culprit responsible for the death of 21 pilots and his father in jail. George Naman information from here, Kokari information from Habakanda, Joe Keller Nani cylinder head to Yolo Hadido, Mabai Mapano Drepko, Joe Keller and Nampudu Yolandi, Berato Kanga, Suzalaga, Suzalaga, the Yon Roy, and Joe Keller engine with the Yon Gibini. Aduna, Joe Sigma Mapana, Yelder, Joe Keller, Mana. Responsibility low haraka low the beginning habdi main antagonist so is Joe Keller haribo businessman in the Steve DeBerg Joe Keller and Soyer. Keller justifies action saying that he took the decision to shift faulty cylinder heads to the army to preserve business and for the welfare of his family. Sidamana yamna justify to no kona seko Joe Keller na even though justification PB ataba action more go mana faulty whatever bera karaba cylinder heads to mana army the yon credo kai no kanda my business to my business yamna tamja sa da matang mo jani ko yon dragadi sa da phang mo ju ko on my business to kanna bo na bata mana problem dai bera karakani khangna mana cylinder head sin yon ki bane magi imung gi khalaga ko magi paisa magi business growth have ta ko me andu khalaga mani yon ki mo da gi ne problem like denial by many characters of play contributes towards making the play a tragedy. So the denial may example of Harvada, Kate na my son Larry say like it have a man accept of denial the label of Matusu so but role of tragedy when the Sigi plays it. Or the Yatopa Amana Joe Keller no Magi rule Zaman denied with a quarter Zaman denied a week, Manamagi responsibility low there or Madi as a free man have a target with the Unico, Magi Mamanaba, Magi business partner, Steve Diverna, Jail Sanger Kanako, the Magi denial the Unico man responsibility lower to never. Shiki, pilot Kumatu Shibuta. Keller's act of suicide at the end of the play is tragic in a number of senses. Yes, the Keller acts Magi suicide man in the couple is to go, but in a tragic surely. Shina in some ways, Kamano in the Habakanda, Maju, my son Paju. Larry Zuko, my Mapa, action of Kampagi, Mazu, Saito Gibini, on a Mapazu, Joe Keller, Saito of the Neva, mentioned by information Zuko. All day in Dotana, Mana, Kona, or Aina, Agisanpa, Chris were digging over the 21 pilots, land, Sapakanda, pilot Kumatoi, Sigibato, Magi, action number Moraka, Mamsanapa, Kumatoi, Sigibumani, Magi, Sanapa to Neva, like it remember. Like a habitat, like a hydrozo, Wiki, Joe Keller, Maram or Haita, Joe Keller, Mana, Yad, Berato, cylinder heads in the Yonzalaga, indirectly, we see with the Mana, so good long plate of you, the Comuna, she give the Ado, Joe Keller, Magi, Masasi, and Mana was preserved to Madiwan. Conflict between morality, denial of the characters, the guilt of killing pilots, Joe Keller and Joe Keller's realization that there can be no real forgiveness for his actions. And last time, Joe Keller and the Commander Jill Sang the Joe, Nansing to the Halaruna, I believe Angang Haraka, my Masan Pagumba, pilot Kumatuto, as well as my Masanupa, Larry's got my lady, Sato Zabni, on information of Kanko de Girico. Atuga, from the pilot Kumatoi, press or plane the press or the Shiva, pilot Kumatu, Halaro Kangunina Mana, jail the later ju adugi mana to action to magi asui to adudi ma chung thupang namur kham dagi mana last suicide to dunia maduni. All My Sons considered a modern tragedy because of the creation of the chief character as tragic and how his actions lead to several tragic consequences. Magi action duna sida haragana Joe Keller haribana paji action na maram oraga somda Christaju my son pa Christaju ko mong the remorse Paulo ba Ketsu my husband mangba haibadare ko sikiba sikirami ko masan pa Larry ju suicide to hanba audagidi pilot kun mathu ju sibagi maram oiba simya de maram oraga magi action ko magi wigi chief character haibadare Joe Keller action jina tragic consequences mayam ama Paul have se akhui du thupu ngameba Arthur Miller gi writing gi ko samapta. In the first section of this unit, we have discussed the structure and plot of All My Sons. So, All My Sons ki structure ga plot ka discuss tore. Second section we get to know Miller's views on tragedy and why the play All My Sons is primarily called a tragedy. Sida akoi ki Aristotle na haram bata ko. Renaissance matam ki tragedy, Aristotle ki tragedy matam da Aristotle hoyi matam ki hargi ko. Greek tragedy matam da tragedy habisdi elevated over character over the Gumba Gumba wiki so sang habitat novel characters from them have to Arthur Miller and challenge Soroga Magi character Joe Keller had a tragic character habitat hero hierarchy tragic characters common people common everyday person but to me Magi tragedy view the Kena hierarchy Shakespeare they Sophocles so Greek tragedy hierarchy. So see I'm going to discuss the easy Arthur Miller ki All My Sons ki magi plot structure discuss kar plot di am simple way Joe Keller ki household da ma lai Joe Keller ma samag ne magi wife Kate ne adu ga magi sanupa Chris habong ko Chris na magan sinazaba and the my meta pora ka mana propose on ko for marriage before pani auda Joe Keller hoina my sanupa Larry my wife Kate na my sanupa Larry lakini Larry ga and kana atamama da khangram ko lakini ha mana approve to tipo ko moina ke marriage adu dei and the brother as well as Larry gi and the brother as well as Joe Keller gi business partner Steve Deaver ko jail leba jail leba ko wari se ko ta ko my brother la ka koi father na jail leba do sing gi di guilty or no padi Joe Keller haven pajni Joe Keller na koi father da injalaga ko habadi cylinder head sing do tum yonjalu ko story daita iloge ko ke ko responsibility atru daita do man loge ko have the gidi sunda pilot kun matu shidweni pilot kun matu shidda gidi Steve Deaver se moina jail da lehendweni atuga awu padana hagadra atruga nathu pun no habata ko sunda Joe Keller na man jail song hori dune mati dum gyan ta me mele hotune masi habada gidi kamaga man to gibno ko kimna habto Chris hoy ke wena khan pada gidi ma patuna last pilot abdagi suicide commit to dunia ko ma nungai charak to magi asubu ko kan to ne ko moi pilot kun mathoi legi trido ai gi sanu pang to mun ko ai sanu pang mun ka to ko auna ai gi action sing do manam sana forget to kun jaro have gi ko ma jo suicide to dunia. So this is the plot and the structure of Arthur Miller's All My Sons ko akoi sum up tore masini akoi Arthur Miller gi All My Sons ki wari ko atuga magi structure have tare ko auna ngasi akoi structure and plot of the play All My Sons we discuss tore Arthur Miller gi magi perspective ko tragedy have se kamai ogitabano kai yagoda ko gadabno have so discuss tore to last the play All My Sons as a tragedy madu jo hui yeng ko. So last class na ko introduction to American drama tore ngasina structure and plot have tare ko we all my detailed study em tore ko All My Sons ke sida ngasigi lecture ta ko gyan ta hauda ba ko chamam na bu ko yaw ga ju next class ta ko we All My Sons ki kitang we discuss to ni ko class ani mukale an kini atu da when discuss kuma to bi ko na tum harap ya ki khang do ko do part me am miss to me am ra ko but for today so I don't know so thank you everyone and I will see you in the next class.